This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Our friend Brad Crawford of 247's Sports, college football writer. Brad, it's kind of doom and gloom right now on these airwaves when it comes to Arkansas football based on how things have gone thus far in the transfer portal and in the high school ranks. Doesn't seem to be that way in Oxford, Mississippi or Columbia, South Carolina. Seems like Lane Kiffin and Beamer are the two hottest transfer portal coaches right now in college football.
Yeah, between Lane Kiffin, Shane Beamer, and Deion Sanders, those three guys are cleaning up on the transfer market. Kiffin has the top-ranked class right now, probably getting another commitment soon from a former Texas A&M five-star. Deion has reloaded his offensive line, and Shane Beamer has picked Arkansas clean of its best running back with Rocket Sanders, and maybe in line to land KJ Jefferson too.
There is some speculation on where KJ is going. You wrote a good article on 247 Sports laying out 4 potential destinations. Chandler Morris, the news yesterday of him entering the transfer portal kind of raised the eyebrows of many here in this state. How much does that play into the idea that KJ could possibly land in Fort Worth relative to the other schools you listed out?
Yeah, at about 4 p.m. Eastern yesterday, Ty, and after talking to several sources, I thought really South Carolina, Miami, and UCF were the 3 major schools that were going to be in pursuit of KJ. Of course, we're in a quiet period right now for this week in the portal. But then Chandler Morris leaves TCU 2 hours later. TCU probably jumps ahead of South Carolina in that regard, and I really think it'll come down to Miami or TCU for KJ. I think right now, based on what I've learned, he's asking for top 10 quarterback money despite not being a top 10 quarterback in the portal. And I think Miami has that money to spend if the Hurricanes don't land Cam Ward, the Washington State guy who has also visited FSU. So I think KJ is going to get paid. I think he's going to be a starter next year wherever he lands. And, of course, it could be back in Fort Worth with former Hogs OC Kendall Briles.
Does Cristobal have anything behind? I know Van Dyke's in Madison now. Does he have anything behind him at Miami? Is there any capable quarterback that they could roll with that they don't land one of the portal guys?
Yeah, there's a young kid who played the last couple of games, started against Florida State, played pretty well in spots. I don't think they're ready to just assume he's QB1 and hand over the entire playbook to him next season. I think Miami, like I said, they have money to spend in NIL. They're very good up front, probably next season in offensive and defensive lines. But tell you what, man, if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to be a conference title contender really in any Power 5 league. And I think Miami knows that, and Mario Cristobal must sign a top-end guy this cycle.
Brad Crawford with us here on the McLarty-Daniel hotline. Brad, how many real winners can there be in the portal? I mean, we talk about who's winning, who's losing, but I mean, there's just not that many great players to go around. The greatest ones probably go on to the NFL if they've served their time, so to speak, in college football. But, I mean, when you really stop and think about it, how many real winners can there be, true winners in the portal these days?
Yeah, I think some of the underrated winners are going to be a few of the elite programs, man, that only sign 2 or 3 transfers and really feel immediate needs with high-end guys. But, you know, you look at, like, Florida State last season. They signed more than a dozen guys, and they went 13-0 with a lot of that transfer portal talent. That was a major win for Mike Norvell. And then Colorado signs more than 60 guys last cycle and goes 4-8. So I think if you're Coach Prime, you're hoping that these 5 offensive line transfers that you have committed right now are essentially immediate starters outside of Jordan Seaton, who's the 2024 5-star freshman, top tackle in the country. Colorado's going to sign him on Wednesday. So, there can't be 15 winners, and I think that the more transfers you take, it sort of shows that you have a lot of holes in your starting 22 depth chart. So I just find it interesting that, the schools like Alabama, Georgia, and Texas, they take portal guys too, but they're taking a handful of talent versus trying to reload a roster.
Is this about war chest? Is this about money at this point? What makes one school a winner over the other?
For the high-end guys, yes. And I do think that if you have a successful collective, say, Oregon, Tennessee, Ole Miss are 3 collectives that I hear a lot about behind the scenes in the industry as, groups that are really forking out money, I think you can be successful. And, those aren't necessarily blue blood programs. Oregon and Ole Miss specifically, I think in the new expanded playoff, if you're one of those programs, just outside the top 10 every year, you can get into that top 12 if you're willing to spend and, rally the base. One more program I'll say that is doing well despite not being one of the, traditional powers financially is NC State. They've got a top 5 portal class right now, coming off a 9-win season, and signed a quarterback out of Coastal Carolina, Grayson McCall, who I think will be a instant impact player there in Raleigh.
Speaking of quarterbacks, I want to talk about a Heisman Trophy winner and a recent commit to Nebraska. Let's start with Jaylen Daniels. So he's opted out of their bowl game against Wisconsin. Brad, we've kicked around the idea that at some point in time we'll see an opt-out in the college football playoff. Do you think that happens this year, or when do you anticipate that happening at some point when it comes to player just pursuing the NFL and ditching out in the college football playoff?
I think it certainly could, and I think at a position maybe like an offensive tackle that's a top 5 pick, or maybe an edge rusher who might go number 1. They've already shown over the course of 3 college seasons, most likely, they've already got elite film. NFL scouts know where they're going to land a guy. I was actually surprised, Ty, that last season Alabama didn't have more opt-outs. Not in the playoff, but in the New Year's Six with Bryce Young and Will Anderson pretty much assuredly going 1-2 in the draft. Nick Saban somehow convinced those guys to play. I think down the road we're going to see players being paid to appear in bowl games, or at least that be a part of maybe NIL contracts in the future, where if you don't play in the postseason, you're not getting that bag at the end of the year in December.
Brett, what do you think about the multiple transfer rule? We've already seen that change within the portal, but what will happen to not just college football but college sports if players are allowed to transfer at will?
It's just free agency every offseason in football. And I cover college football almost exclusively, but just in the sport that I cover, it'll become a free-for-all. And, coaching staff, every coach I've spoke to this season, Ty, has told me it's a 364-day-a-year job. Basically, Christmas Day is the one day that they sort of ignore everything and stay off their phones. But, this 3 to 4 week period between the end of the regular season and really bowl practices is the busiest time of the year for coaching, because you're not only having to recruit your incoming 2024s and keep them committed, but you're having to pay your own players to retain a roster. I mean, it's just crazy. Shane Beamer specifically, he didn't know Juice Wells, his top playmaker in 2024, was going to open himself up to free agency essentially and go to the highest bidder, which turned out to be Ole Miss. So, for the Shane Beamers of the world, I certainly feel for them that it's a hard time right now being a head college football coach.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.